Hello, my name is Anthony Paganelli. I am the WKU Elizabethtown Fort Knox librarian, and this is a research instruction tutorial to help you with your research and find information and help you write your research paper. First of all, we begin with a research topic. Some of you may already have a research topic, but if you don't, some ways to kind of think about a research topic is to think about what questions that need to be answered, or what kind of interest do you have. This would be ways to help you find a research topic. I have, for an example, why do college students struggle to graduate? So this is my question I want to find an answer to. Now, before I go any further, I'd like to go ahead and take a moment to just go ahead and write down some key words for my research question, such as college students, students' persistence or retention, higher education, since I want to focus primarily on college students, student affairs, and academic affairs. These are just some key words to help me find information as when we go to look at the databases. We'll use these particular keywords to help us find the information. And that, plus, the information will help you find out more about why do college students struggle to graduate. Okay, before we find our information, we need to make sure that the sources that we get are academic. And there are a few ways that we can look at our sources to make sure that this is going to be academic sources for our research. And if you look on the left hand, you'll see the difference between a scholarly and popular source. Scholarly articles sources seem to, there are articles from journals or books from experts. And this is our next thing, written by experts. These are experts in the field who specifically do research on specific titles and topics and research. They have a tendency to be longer, anywhere between 10 plus pages. Some can be up to 40, 50 pages. They're usually typically hard to read. In other words, it's more academic rather than just for the general public. These are also known as academic, peer-reviewed, or empirical. These are some of these names that you probably have already become familiar with because this is something that your instructor or professor is recommending that you use. The popular sources are going to be magazines, newspapers, most websites, especially our .com websites. They're going to be written by anyone. Primarily, if we get them from a magazine or newspaper, those are going to be written by journalists. They're not exactly experts in a specific field. They're more experts in how to write these articles for these type of magazines. And they're usually based on opinion, mainly because uh, whoever this magazine may be specifically geared to one type of industry or a specific topic. They have a tendency to be shorter and easier to read. They're also known as mass media or popular press. Um, Also, if you're unclear about what the source is, you can always look at over here on the right hand side currency, relevant, authority, accuracy, purpose. This is an acronym for primarily what we would say CRAP. So when we look at currency, we're looking at, is it current? Current meaning most recent. That means it's probably going to have the most up-to-date information, but not necessarily has to be the most current article. For instance, if you're doing something on a historical research, well, then you may need something from the specific time period. Um, Next is relevant. Relevant is how does it pertain to your research topic? Is it relevant to the field? Is it going to, make an impact? Then authority. Well, that's something that we just looked at. Who is the author? Who's this person writing it? Do they have a background in a specific field, or are they just journalists, or are they just probably enthusiasts about something? Accuracy. Accuracy is going to come in when we have the peer reviewed, because the peer reviewed is basically if someone writes an article, they will submit it to their peers, and those peers in that field will look over it to make sure that the information is accurate. Unlike into a popular newspaper or magazine where it's just kind of an editorial editor who just kind of looks through it and says, okay, it looks good, and sends it out. It doesn't really check for accuracy so much. They rely on the journalist to make sure that's accurate. And the purpose. So the purpose for academic is more of what they can contribute to the research field. Whereas the purpose of a popular magazine is more, their purpose is to sell the magazine. I have here an example of what we might say is a academic source versus a popular source. And if you notice on the left hand side, this is our scholarly source. You notice the title is pretty lengthy and it's more, academic sounding than more than some kind of headline to try and get your attention. It says the impact of self-beliefs on post-secondary transitions, the moderating effects of institutional selectivity. So that's the title of it. This comes from a higher education journal. The author here is Diane Elliott, and you can see her credentials down here that she is um, a graduate of New York University, and that's where she works. We could also probably look up her background to see what, where else she is in the field of study. You can also see the abstract. It kind of tells you about what this article is about, gives you an introduction. So this is kind of about how a layout of an academic article is. Now, if we look over to the right, we'll see the popular source, USA Today, which we, figure is kind of like a credible source, which is could be. That depends on whether your instructor accepts it or not. But immediately we can see that the title is just trying to catch you. Students who go to college full time are more likely to graduate. So they're trying to get your attention with these kind of headlines. It's not really talking about the research. If you also notice, there's a lot of advertisement on here. We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got Universal Studios, things like that. And we got images and pictures, which not so much you're going to see in an academic journal. So these are just quick ways to kind of understand the difference between the two.